Hello, welcome. It's Yvonne from Women's Fitness Adventures. Thank you for joining me. Did you think I wasn't coming? I was just remembered I had to do something at the last minute, so here I am. If you are watching live, it is Monday the 4th of April. I got it wrong last week, I think. I said November. Monday the 4th of April 2022. So if you're watching live, please let me know. Drop a note in the chat where you're watching from. Whether you're a member or not, and if you're not a member, how long you've been watching or following us for, because I did find out a few things this past week of how long some members have been following us for before they joined. So hello, Karen, first off the trot in Claremont there, and hello, Julie. Hi, nice to have you here, Julie, as well, from Victoria. So a couple of things I want to talk about tonight. Firstly, I can't see you. Remember, I say this every week. I can't see you unless you put your comment in there. I don't know who you are. So if you want to always remain anonymous, that's great. But it helps me if you identify yourself, so I can answer your questions if you have them. And also it just makes for a better flow of the evening. Hi, Cherie from Ningi. Hi, Gay. Hi, Patricia. We had a chat this afternoon. Hi, Andrea. Hi, Karen. Hi, Alison. Hi, Brodwin. Yes, the right time after daylight saving ended. Yes, so East Coast is all on the same time zone now for a good couple of months. So remember, I can't see you. You can see me. You can't see I've got my pajama bottoms on and just done the top bit. So that's okay. I've had a very long day. And hello, Jane. Nice to have you joining us as well. Haven't seen you in a little while. So this afternoon I want to talk about, and I've gone and lost my notes here. Let me move these across. There's a couple of things I want to talk about, and with the world now busting for adventure, and hi, Annie, as well. With the world now busting for adventure, you know, planes are full around the country, roads are full as well. The world is, and certainly the world of women, my women, 50 plus, are keen for adventure. They're keen to get out there and travel and see the things that we've not been able to get to in the last couple of years. And with that comes a whole heap of questions as well. And hi, Sue, comes a whole heap of questions around, I want to go on an adventure, I want to go and travel, and I want to, and this applies to travel, this applies to adventure, this applies to hiking. But how do I know what one to choose? So we were chatting about this morning when we were doing some hiking. You know, how much travel is too much travel? In my world, it's never enough travel. Travel teaches you so much about yourself and makes you a richer, better person. Hi, Virginia from Coolum as well. So travel changes you, literally changes you on the inside. It's the thing that you grow richer from. So there's never enough travel. But how do you know, you know, you invest a lot of time, money and energy into going on a holiday or going on an adventure. So how do you know what's right for you? And if you've never done the type we deliver before, how do you know which one works for you? And if you've done lots and you know, you want to try something else out of the box that maybe is you know, something that's not heard of, how do you know what sort of questions do you need to ask? So I want to talk about that tonight in greater detail, because I've had lots of questions come across my desk and, you know, in the different circles I move in this week about that. And I'm going to go through the guide. So we've got the wonderful hiking guide. And if you're a member, that sits inside our member resources section. So you can go and download that. And if you're not a member and watching, you can head to our website, womensfitnessadventures.com, and you can pull that off from there. So the hiking guide is what I'm going to talk about. In terms of just what else is coming up, if you're a member, you would have received the newsletter this afternoon. Great exciting news that we are trialing and starting this Sunday our ambassador pilot program in South Australia. So the lovely Mandy Masters, who may appear on here shortly, not on screen, but in video, will, in the comments, will be our ambassador in South Australia. So we're piloting this program for 6 months. What that means, if you are in South Australia, whether you are a member or a non-member, there are some more opportunities for you to connect with Women's Fitness Adventures in person, and those events will soon be listed on the website. And we have a very specific framework of how we're doing this pilot program, and if all goes to our plan, then we will be rolling out that pilot program in other states as well. So if you receive the newsletter tonight, there is a blurb in there that explains it all. And if that's something that is of interest to you, then you can read in there for how to, what that means and what impact that will have on you. And hi, Sandra from Sydney and Central Coast as well. I got the CC there. The other thing I want to talk about is Stadium Stomp happens in Adelaide. That's where we're kicking off the pilot program this week. Women tend to shy away from Stomp. It is the absolute best training program that you can do for your cardiac fitness and for your endurance as well. And it doesn't have to be hard and it doesn't have to be fast. It just has to be. And it is, the one thing I would recommend, and it's a perfectly safe environment. So Stomp in South Australia is on this Sunday. You can join our team. The code is on our website, and Stomp in Brisbane happens on the 1st of May. So the team is still open for that. We'd love to have more Brisbane people participate. So you can jump onto the website and again, find the code. Hi, Kayleen from Brisbane, and hi, Jill. Hi, Jill. We had a great chat last week in Melbourne. What else is coming up is we have our Mount Moffat hiking and camping adventure. So next Monday, I won't be live, but I might pop a surprise in here for you. I'm off out to Western Queensland on an adventure, my second for the year after Couch to Mountain. I'm pretty excited about that. We also have our, I'm very excited, our Iceland adventure going in this time in 3 months. Jill, 3 months time, we will be there. I am so excited. Ice baby. And we have our 2 places left for our adventures this year. Our trekking in Tuscany in September. As I said, planes are full. People are flying. The world is open. Trekking in Tuscany, come with us to Tuscany and Elba Island. 1 spot left. Those details are on the website. And our Jatbula Trail hiking adventure. Perfect introduction to full pack hiking. There is 1 spot left on the late August, September adventure, which I am the leader for, and we would love to have you on that one. So jump onto the website as well. So let me now get into the topic of tonight's conversation is how do you choose an adventure? And this came about from a conversation that Karen and I had this morning, one of our members, on there's so many things to choose from on our website, but of course, so many things to choose from across any, a website that offers hiking adventures or walking holidays, that how do you know which one to choose and where do you start? So there's a couple of basic rules that you need to identify. And this is also some feedback that I have had from our Great Ocean Road ladies who hiked a couple of weeks ago. And sometimes you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know till you've done it to work out whether you like it or not. And I've seen this pattern happen across the years, which is why we developed the hiking guide. So, with so many places to visit, so many places to go, so much information out there, how do you decipher what is a great walking, hiking holiday for you or adventure holiday for you? So the first question is to work out, where do you really want to go? Do you want a hot climate? Do you want a cold climate? Do you not really care where you want to go? Do you want to travel by train, bus, plane, drive? Because that will determine where you go as well, or by ship. What type of hiking holiday do you want to have? And should you do that independently, like organize it on your own, or should you go on an organized hike as well? And there's some places in the world where to get the most out of it, I would suggest going with an organized group, because they have access to, depending on the group, to different places and spaces that you may not get to on your own. And then there's others that are, just great iconic ones that are, very doable, whether it's your first or your many. They're set up so that they're very, very doable. But it's a matter of having the skills, the knowledge, the gear and equipment, and the fitness to make sure that you get the best out of that. So that's what I'm going to talk about tonight. I won't go all night, but please ask any questions, ask away in the chat box. Agree, disagree, or whatever you or whatever comments you want to make. So where do you really want to go is probably the first question if you're looking at a whole lot of adventures. And pretty soon, in a couple of months, we'll be releasing our 2023 adventures. And for anyone who wants to adventure with us, these are the type of questions that you'll need to ask yourself. Or if you're looking at your own travels, these are the type of things that you need to ask is, what kind of climate do you want? So do you want a warm climate or a cold climate? If you choose, whatever time of year your holidays are, does the climate match to your holidays? Are lots of places closed in the winter months? For example, we will next year be doing the Cinque Terre adventure, and in Italy. We've done that 4 times now, but we have a window when we can do it, because we know that as the summer and autumn season, or close into autumn, starts to come to an end, a lot of the shops close, and the experience of being in that environment just isn't possible, because a lot of the great things that are there aren't open. So that's something to consider, is does the climate dictate where you want to go, or the time of year that you need to go? How will you travel? As I said, do you want to drive or fly or a ferry or, a bus or a ship to get there? Because depending on your mode of transport, if you never want to fly, then, you pretty much can't, well, you can leave Australia, but you have to leave by ship. There's no other way to get out of Australia. And if you live in if you live in Europe or the US and want to come to Australia, that's a long way to come on a boat. So have a think about, does your means of getting to the destination match with how you actually want to travel? So Patricia's already made up her mind. She says definitely an organised hike is the better choice. It's good to feel supported and safe. Absolutely. And Patricia, that's something that I'm going to talk about as well. So the other thing, think about the climate, think about how you'll get there. And this is for any travels that you want to do, whether it's a hiking or walking holiday or just any travels. It's particularly related to hiking is, do you want an iconic trail? So do you want to go somewhere that's well known? And this is all in the guide. Or are you comfortable with crowds and tourists and hikers and all sorts of things? Because that will determine where you go. For example, if you want to go to the Grand Canyon, 20-something years ago, my husband and I hiked to the bottom, and there were, this was before the world got really big into travel. There were quite a lot of people at the top, but as we got further and further away into, I guess, more degree of difficulty, there became less and less people. So things to think about like that. The easily accessible iconic trails tend to have a lot more people at them. And we've been very fortunate with our Great Ocean Road hike that because the rest of the world hasn't been able to get here, we've pretty much had the trail all to ourselves. Hi, Sandy from Toowoomba. Or do you want to get off the beaten track? Do you want to get away from the crowds? How will you get there? So the less known, the less accessible the trails, the more costly they become. When trails are limited by permits, for example, when we travel to, say, the Walls of Jerusalem, or Japala, Walls of Jerusalem in Tasmania, or the Japala Trail in the Northern Territory, or the Kakadu Off-Track Trail. It's limited by the number of permits that are given out on any day. And, that can be as little as 8 permits a day. So that determines the availability of being able to get on those trails. And that's why for some, you can't get into them for years and years in advance. What about the language as well? Do you want to be fully immersed and have that wonderful experience where you feel totally out of your depth and don't understand the language? Or do you want your native language? Because that will determine, that will wipe out a lot of countries if they don't speak the language that you want. Are you going purely for the adventure, the hiking component, or do you want a mix of sightseeing as well? And that determines how you'll pack and what you need. Do you need to leave stuff somewhere? Do you need to get it transported? Do you need to just go, does it, if it's a through hike, what do you do with your stuff? So, those are some things to factor into the consideration as well. And hi, Kerry. And what type of accommodation do you want? So when we were chatting today, I said, if you're a camper, yes or no? And it was like, oh, maybe. So if you're not a camper, that takes you out of a whole lot of places that you can actually get to. So those 3 I mentioned before, the Walls of Jerusalem, Kakadu and Japala, are camping. You can't you can get to, but at the moment, those luxury lodges haven't been built. It's very hard to see and do everything in there without camping. But if you only want, when I say luxury accommodation, flushing toilets and hot showers, not that much of a luxury, then that limits what's also available. So, these are questions that you start to form in your mind of, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, what am I prepared to try, what am I not prepared to try. And what about personal hygiene? For a lot of people, and particularly women, the women in my world, a flushable toilet and a hot shower is really, really important. And as much as we might teach about toileting on the trail and bush toileting and stuff like that, some of those things are non-negotiable. So that may wipe out some of the places that you want to have a walking holiday or a hiking holiday on. And then, I guess once you work out the parameters, like the shape of the adventure, the shape of the places, the shape of the spaces, the traveling, the accommodation, like the border, the parameters of your adventure, then you need to work out, hi Charmaine, lovely to have you here. Then you need to work out what fitness level you are looking for. So, we break ours up into introductory, moderate, and challenging. But if you, and not everyone does that, and we grade them that way. Introductory is not introduction to fitness. So you need a certain level of fitness. It's introduction to hiking. A lot of trails, multi-day hiking adventures are hiking day after day after day. And you generally walk into your fitness, by about the third day. You may have a bit of a dip on the second day, and then the third day you kind of wake up and go, yeah, this is great. And it's tiring. So working out what level of fitness. So and all of them, regardless of what level of fitness you choose, all of them have to be, sorry about that sound, you have to do some training for. If you don't do the training, then you're missing out. You're missing out on the pure enjoyment of what that adventure can give you. It will give you a lot with no training. Maybe you won't finish it. But if you do the training, you'll actually get so much more out of it. And I know that about 40% of people, not our people, that book onto multi-day hiking adventures around the world or hiking holidays don't succeed. They don't finish. And there's a reason for that, but that's for another day. So, an introductory one, you don't need a whole lot of gear. So that's another thing to consider. It's not just the cost of the adventure, it's the cost of the gear that goes along with it. You need to do, a bit of training to get the most out of it and out of yourself. A moderate one, you need to have an above average level of fitness. You need to be good with carrying a day pack. And then a challenging one is something that's hard. It might have some edges. It might go for longer than planned. You may have to carry a full pack. There may be some rock scrambling and stuff like that to do, or it may be, 10 days long or a greater distance, or you may have to walk 20 kilometers a day. So they all vary, or the trail might be very difficult underneath. They all vary, but the important thing about choosing what level of adventure is that, if you choose one that's too hard for you, and I know this from experience with talking to people, to women 50 plus, we beat ourselves up that we are in the wrong space, that we're not good enough, that, why didn't I do this? Why didn't I do that? And they stop there and let everyone go off because it's too hard. And you feel like that you're not successful before you've even started. And that's a horrible, horrible feeling. So it's really important to choose the right adventure for you. And in my world, whatever adventure you want to go on, if you train for it with enough lead time, you can get there. It's the training bit you have to do. But choose an adventure that's too easy. We all have our own walking pace that we walk at. And it's frustrating if you're a reasonably fast walker to be held back in a group. And if you are slow is not the word. If you, we all have our strengths uphill, on flat and downhill. But if you're someone who, walks at a consistent pace, but not a particularly fast pace, it can be frustrating for you as well to have to try and keep up with the group. And, there's nothing worse than dragging yourself into camp at night and going, oh my gosh, or camp, I say, into the accommodation. Do I have to do that again tomorrow? I'm absolutely exhausted. You're not hungry for dinner. All you're thinking about is, how long till I have to get up again because I need to rest my feet. My feet are sore. I don't think I can put my backpack on. So it's really, really important. And no matter how silly you might think the questions are, is to ask the question about the fitness level, about the terrain, about the other type of people that are going on the adventure. Because on all sorts of hiking holidays, and again, we're different because we're generally for women over 50, you can have such a wide variety of people on the group. And you want to make sure that, as well as walking and hiking and seeing the beautiful scenery, that you're having these really rich conversations with the people that you're with, and that you're sharing the journey not only before, during, and after. That is what makes it even longer. But then when you're sitting around at night having dinner or having campfire or whatever it might be, that you've actually got something to contribute, that they get your conversation, and you're not sitting there thinking these people I have nothing in common with. And that non-movement part, the non-hiking part of the adventure, actually contributes so much to the adventure as well. Now, I notice everyone is really quiet. You're still watching, but there's no comments. So please tell me if you agree, disagree, if there's any particular questions, burning questions that you have of me. And how do you work out your fitness? How do you work out the group for you? What kind of questions do you ask? And these are, again, all in the guide, but really, really important questions. And if you're going, well, the next thing I'm going to talk about is, should I do this on my own or should I do this with a company? And we know Patricia, she's like organized already. It's just feels supported and safe. So should you do it solo with friends or on your own, or should you do it with an organized group? And there are so many companies out there that offer hikes all over the world. And how do you know which ones are the good quality that are looking out for your interests, and how do you know which ones are not, I suppose, because the internet is, up to us to do our own research. And hi, Helen Marie. So if you've got a group of friends and you want to go on a hiking holiday, do you have friends who can do it with you, or can or want to do it with you? Can they get leave from work? Who's going to be in charge? Someone has to be in charge. Do they have the level of fitness needed? Are they going to commit to the level of training that's needed? Who's responsible for making sure that everybody's fit enough? That's a big one, because I know when I've tried to organize even weekend dinners, it's just so hard, or such and such can't make it, so 2 out of 4 can make it then, and 1 out of 4 can make it then, and it's just a really hard thing, and someone's left holding that basket. What happens if you're with friends and someone can't keep up with the group? What's the plan around that? Who's in charge of, getting the permits for where you need to go if they're needed, or booking the accommodation, or eating the meals out? How, is someone happy to be that person in charge? And, if others don't like it, be prepared to put up with their grumpiness at times. Who's in charge of leading the directions, the navigation as well? And you may be an expert at this, and these are questions that you would have already covered and be really down pat with. What about the impact on your group if someone pulls out at the last minute? What happens then? What about first aid? All the gear needed for the hike. Who's the primary first aider should something happen? And what about the risk management? What happens if someone injures themselves, or worse, is out on a trail and unable to continue? So they're kind of things to work out on your own. And, they're not meant to scare you. They're just meant to be, well, they're not just, they are put in there to, start you thinking that these are the questions that you need to ask for the time, the money, and the effort that you invest into a hiking or walking holiday, or any holiday that you book with someone else. These are the things that are really important. These are the things that you need to ask, because they're going to be part of ensuring that you're successful. Or do you choose a company? And there's lots of questions you should ask a company as well. And please, if you've got questions or something that should be in the guide, please jot them in. I know unless you're all doing something else, no one's commenting. So, some questions to consider if you're going with a company is, who will there be other people on the trek? How do I know who they are? Are they a mix of men and women? And what do you feel comfortable with? If you're comfortable with all ages and, all ranges, then, that question may not matter to you. What happens if I book and I realize that the company values don't align with mine? So, the company, whatever those company values, they don't value my safety as much as I do. Or they don't value my well-being as much as I do. One of the things that freaks me out when I take a group is being close to edges. And, I always say, and luckily most of our members are not edge dwellers, and we stay well back away from edges, because that someone going near an edge not only gets my fear, but it also sets a lot of the group. We all have this, I guess, motherly instinct to pull everyone back. Oh, Sandra, I'm answering your questions before I finish typing. Okay, well, that's great. And, you know, when you're looking at these things, who can I talk to learn more about the company before you book and the type of hiking that they do? You know, what's their safety policy? Do they check your gear each night? Do they run through a briefing? Do they check in with you at the end of the day? What happens? This is a real biggie. What happens if I book into a group and I don't get along with other people? You know, what if no one talks to me? Or worse still, what if they're not my people? And I'm thinking, oh gosh. And I've had that on one before, Women's Fitness Adventures. It's like, oh my gosh. No, I'm not there. Will I have to share accommodation? What options do I have? Am I sharing with a complete stranger? Is there single supplement? You know, that they're really quite big questions. Virginia says that us, I think that means that's us, the value in traveling with a like-minded group. Yeah, I think that's really important because, you know, you want the whole experience to be delivered, not just I'm hiking Machu Picchu. You want the whole experience of the getting there, the people that you're with, the wow moments, all of those things to be just part of the experience. And sometimes those moments don't come when you're walking on the trail. Sometimes those moments come on the little things that aren't even in the itinerary. You know, what's included and what's not, you know, is dinner included? If dinner's not included, does that mean I have to dine alone? And I know one of our members, after one of our adventures, went off traveling in another country, and I won't say what that is. Thanks, Virginia. I won't say what that country was. But none of the meals were included. And this was a country where the language was very different. And it was something like 14 days she was doing this itinerary. And 14 days of having dinner on your own is a long time to figure out where you're going to go and where not to go. And that's really important. And I know as women, sitting there having dinner on your own is sometimes can be an uncomfortable feeling. And I was just talking about that with someone the other day. So Virginia's said that is the value in traveling with a like-minded group, is that a lot of these things are already done for you. And Patricia says, everything you're saying is evident during my amazing walk, which was a Great Ocean Walk last week. I've nailed it, Yvonne. Well, for 8 years, I've been listening, and these are all the questions that keep coming up. You know, and the big question, if you're looking at all the different groups out there, is how do I know if I'm fit enough? Who will help me with that fitness training? Is it enough that I get given a plan, or do I need an explanation of the plan? You know, do they hold me accountable? Who's checking in on me? You know, have I got buddies that are going to help me with that as well? You know, I met a lady many, many years ago who was hiking Mount Etna, and she rang them up and they said, yes, you could easily hike Mount Etna. And I looked up Mount Etna, and the surface is really challenging underfoot for most of it. And I really did wonder whether the description that they had given her and the quick yes that they had replied to her was really in her best interests. Anyway, she didn't end up going, which is a shame. But I in their blurb where they said, yes, she would be fine, they also said we have a whole lot of options to opt you out if it doesn't work, which to me, when that comes up in your very first statement, is a bit of a red flag. Who will help me decipher the gear and equipment list? You get this big, long list of what you need and don't, you know, what you need. Most of it you have. You don't need that fancy hiking equipment. There's a couple of basics that you need. Our members have all of this in their resources. You know, and where do they recommend I go and buy it that I'm not going to be ripped off? You know, you can get a wicking t-shirt from an adventure store and pay a lot. You can get a wicking shirt from Kmart or even some of the secondhand shops now and have the same. As a matter of fact, you've probably got the shirts in your wardrobe already. And are some hiking and outdoor stores better than others? Is the business aligned with the outdoor store? Are they getting something back by recommending and sending you there? And can someone check my gear for me before I go out on the trail each day? So these are really important questions because, as I said, we have the parameters of the the what and the how and the style of adventure that you want to do, but it's the little bits of the ingredients that go into this, making this cake, so that when you get on it, it bakes to perfection, and all of those elements come together, and it's a delicious mix of all those wonderful ingredients that create this really, really amazing thing. So, we've got some great examples of things that have not gone right on the trail when people have got there. But, if you go on an adventure that's too hard, you risk injury. If you're trying desperately to keep up or doing things that are way beyond your fitness level, then you risk injury, long-term injury. If you are on something that's too easy for you, you're frustrated and annoyed, and there's nothing worse than that, because those are the moments that tarnish that adventure. And misjudging the location. So getting to a destination and realizing that the trail's closed, and there isn't an alternative. So, things like that. So inside the guide, we've got the checklist as well. So for our members, that's inside your resources section. So really important, whether you're choosing one of our adventures or whether you're choosing something else out there, get this guide, and each and every time, and I do this when I look for my own adventure, what are my negotiables? What are my non-negotiables? What do I need help with? What do I need guidance on? What don't I know? What can they help me with? How do I know they're reputable? Who can I talk to as well to start getting those questions? And, if you've got gaps in the checklist, if you're a member, most of you watching are members, then, there's a whole lot of resources that you have to fill those gaps. And most of you have been with us for a while, so that makes a big difference as well, because you are becoming more and more skilled. But I still challenge you each and every time to go through that checklist, each and every adventure that comes up. And when the 2023 adventures come up in a couple of months, and there'll be it's like a candy store to choose from, I really encourage you to pull that checklist out. In fact, we'll be sharing that checklist beforehand, going, I'm interested in this one, because if there's 10 you're interested in, I'd love you to come on all 10, but that's probably not practical. What are the things that are important to you? Where do you want to go? Is there something else happening around that time in your life where you could tack it on to as well? If you're not a camper, then wipe out the camping ones. If you are a camper, then you have choices of both. I want to travel in winter. I can't travel this month because someone's getting married or have a baby or whatever it might be. Or, I know that this year I've really got a whole lot of things, so I can only do a short one and I can't travel by plane and stuff like that. So that checklist, if you already know your 2023, is an open slather, then that's going to make it harder. But if you've got parameters around it, then, start to narrow down the things and create that, that box of things that are really important to you for what you look for in adventure and travel, and holidays as well. Any holidays that you might consider doing, just go through this checklist for accommodation, for transport, for providers. You might do a day sightseeing tour. Check again all of these things because they're all really important. There's no sense in booking yourself on a day tour for a, Kontiki style 18 to 34 if that's not your age profile, because it will be a very different conversation that's happening inside there. So hopefully you found that those questions, and I elaborated a lot more on those, helpful, because they are really important. And, I always say, if you don't know, then ask, because, asking just eliminates things that we're uncertain of. And, there is no such thing as a silly question. And, it's better to ask than end up somewhere where you actually don't want to be, or on the top of a mountain somewhere, or in a situation which is just way above or well beyond your comfort zone. And just the last thing is on that comfort zone, and Patricia and I were talking today about this, is that when you adventure with us, you may feel, any adventure that you do where you haven't done something before will make you feel uncomfortable. And it will make you feel uncomfortable because it's new, but it should never make you feel uncomfortable because you feel unsafe. And we at Women's Fitness Adventures will never put you in an unsafe position, because there is no need for that. And that's why sometimes itineraries do change, but it's really important that, whatever happens on an adventure, that you always feel safe. And I think that's really, really important, that we value your safety and you value your safety as well. And that's a question that you should be asking. You know, safety when it comes to what transport are you on, you know, what guidelines do they follow, and you know, what, all that sort of thing. So always ask away on that. So that's all I'm going to talk about tonight with our hiking guide. As I said, for members, it's in the resources section. For non-members, you can go to the website and download it there. It is a busy week this week, Mount Moffat for me next week, but we have our last book club tomorrow night. I'm taking that one. Jane's away on holidays, so the last of the yellow envelope, and I can't wait to have a conversation with some of you about that, because I've heard some views on it already, but I am nearly finished it and really looking forward to having a conversation with you about that. The new book we'll talk about tomorrow night as well for the next book club. We've also got our masterclass on bone health on Wednesday night at 7:30 Eastern time. So East Coast of Australia is all on the same time now. So bone health, how do we know our bone health and how do we keep our bone health? So that is on Wednesday night as well. And of course, our functional fitness and all sorts of things this week. So that's it for me for tonight, Monday Night Live. I'm not here next Monday Night Live because I'm at Mount Moffat. So if I don't talk to you before then, please have a happy Easter. I have given everyone lots to think about, I hope. Have a happy Easter. Maybe the Easter Bunny will find you, maybe not. But please take care over the Easter break. Yes. So if daylight savings has messed you up, just go back and watch the repeat of this. Drop your comments and questions in here as well. If you think of a question afterwards too, please put them in there. I think everyone's coming online now because we are an hour earlier. So yes, but please just keep asking away, anything that you want. We're here to ask those questions. Yes, a lot to think about in a very positive way, Jill. We're going on our own one. We'll do a lot there as well. So thank you for tuning in. Remember, East Coast is all great, Kayleen, back to more sessions. So thank you everyone for watching, and I will catch up with you next time. Bye.